जी का Khalsa, Sri Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Welcome viewers, I'm Ravi Suman and welcome to another edition of the Health and Wellness Show on the SIKH channel. And in today's edition we have a very special guest. We have Sandeep Saib, who's co-director of Happy Heads and has done a range of work for people with mental health problems and challenges. Sandeep, very G Ayanu to you and Asasrikal.
Yeah,
Welcome to the SIKH channel.
thank you
All right.
so much for having me, Ravi. Sat Sri Akal, everybody, and good afternoon. It's a great pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
No, we are indebted to you because you are sharing your experience, your knowledge of the work that you're doing in helping people live better lives and helping people with their health and mental problems. So it's great to have you here. And especially with this year, with the global pandemic and with a lot of high public profile people talking about the challenges with mental health and how it's impacted them. So it's no surprise that in the workplace, outside the workplace, we're seeing a lot more platforms being used to talk about mental health, to break the stigma so that people of all colors and backgrounds are comfortable speaking about it. And you are a shining example of sharing with people the challenges you've had. So if you could just please let our viewers know about um, your background and how you've come about being a co-director and co-founder at Happy Heads.
Yeah, sure. So I personally went through mental health problems and lived experience um, issues with mental health, really. And it really all started in July 2012. So a few years back now. And I just really started to get involved in exercising, and it got to the point where I was doing it vigorously for 2 years. It was very rigid, and it began to control me rather than me controlling it. Um, it got to the point when I was doing it literally every single day, every single moment. Um, didn't even eat. I started to lose drastic amount of weight. And at the same time going through all this, I began to lose myself, and it chipped at me bit by bit. And I didn't notice this. I started to suffer from severe eating issues and problems. I used to not, like I said, I used to starve myself and didn't want to socialize with family members or friends. I kept myself to myself. I was in my own bubble. Um, and it was a good 2, 3 years like that, consistently exercising, making food diaries, weight diaries, weighing myself every day, keeping a tab of what I ate if I did, um, even down to the utensils I use, the same bowl, the same spoon. So it was very controlled behavior that I had, but I didn't know back then what I was going through. I didn't even know what it was that I was going through, whether this was normal or not. So that was a good two years that I did that, and and I just felt really really raw and numb. No satisfaction, no personal satisfaction, no motivation. I guess after I did what I did, I also felt at that point where what I was doing wasn't good enough. I started to compare myself to others, looking at social media, comparing myself to friends and family members, and the way I looked. It was a lot around, or it became a lot around the way I looked, the eating, my body image, looking at myself in the mirror, consistently, without hesitation. It became the norm for me, and at around, I think, April 2014 is when my parents started to notice the red flags, the change in behavior, the change in the attitude of their own daughter. And they sat me down and they said that we are worried about you. We're honestly worried about you. We are noticing, you're getting angry more. You don't want to eat. You're starving yourself. And if you do eat, you don't want to eat in front of everybody. You're very confined to yourself, and we're worried about you, as a normal parent would say. So it was a real sort of, I guess, a cry for help from their end. Um, and they just wanted to help their child, and they just didn't know what to do or where to start. But they mentioned the doctors, to book an appointment with the doctors. I was at that frame of mind. First of all, I didn't know anything was wrong with me. I felt very victimized, and I thought, why is my parents pointing these things out? I'm not going through that. I didn't want to believe. Basically, I found it was a struggle for me to believe and get my head around what they are seeing in me, because I couldn't clearly see it. I couldn't see anything. It was a smokescreen, um, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to go to the doctors for my parents' sake. Just to keep them happy, I'm going to do that. So in March 2014, the doctor's appointment was booked, and the first doctor's appointment that I went to, my mum came along with me, and I just felt as if like I couldn't um, explain what I'm going through, and it was a matter of, where do I start? How do I explain it in order for the doctor to understand me and make sense of what I'm going through? And it was the first time and the first challenge ever for me where I just sort of hit a brick wall, and I just didn't know how to explain these emotions and these thoughts that I'm going through. But I tried my best, and I unpicked all the things that I'm doing or have done during the 2 years, and started with the exercising, moved on to the food, the body image, the weight, keeping all these controlled diaries. And I even started to draw images of food as well, that I forgot to mention. I used to draw food just as a comfort for me to know what I ate during the day. I used to keep back food wrappers, um, you know, and I never used to dispose of them. I used to lay them out. So I had a visual picture of what I consumed during the day. So all these different aspects that has happened throughout the 2 years, I was in that moment face to face with the doctor trying to explain all that. And I just found it a real challenge to just explain and share that story and what I'm going through. So I tried. And as I did, the doctor diagnosed me with anorexia nervosa, body dysmorphia disorder, which is BDD for short, and OCD, which is obsessive compulsive disorder. And I didn't know what those terms meant, but I knew I had a problem there and then. And I knew I think the doctor felt that it was necessary for me to get onto CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy. So the doctor referred me for 6 sessions for CBT and put me on antidepressants as well. Um, so it was a lot to take in looking back in 2014, and what I know now. It was a lot to take in that first doctor's appointment. The whole realization, first of all, that I have a problem. Second realization, that it is a serious problem. And the third realization is, God, I just shared what was going on in my mind, my thoughts, my emotions, my feelings with a doctor, with a complete stranger that I had no connection with. So it was a lot of these different thoughts and challenges that I endured, I guess, in the first doctor's appointment.
So, so what's interesting there is in 2012, is that when you first started doing things or experiencing things? And then,
It's it, yeah. So this whole period started in July 2012, and I came to the realization that I had a problem in March, April 2014. So a good, yeah, just over 2 years it took me to realize that I have a problem. And it makes me think, looking back, I spent 2 years closed up with these thoughts in my mind, being my own, I guess, worst enemy during that two year period, not being able to or feel that I'm unable to share this and my struggles. Because honestly, in those 2 years, nothing I felt nothing was wrong with me. So why would I then confining people or share this emotion and thoughts? I felt nothing was wrong with me. And it was a norm, like I said. So I wouldn't know any better, to be honest. So 2014, yeah, was my turning point. That was, I guess, my realization that I do have an issue, a mental health problem. And my parents helped me notice that. And that's when that doctor's appointment clarified the issues.
Okay. So in that 18-month or longer than 18-month period, where unfortunately you were going through that physical and mental pain of the OCD of the body um, disorder problems. In that 18 plus month period, was there anyone in your family or in your close friends, perhaps, or even in the workplace that recognized that potentially you have a mental health problem?
No, I was very adamant that no one knew the other side of me. I made sure when I was at work or when I was at home, smiling, putting on a face, acting like somebody else, not Sandeep, or not, the daughter of my parents. I I felt like I needed to. I guess that was a coping mechanism for me to deal with what's going on. I didn't want anyone to, I guess, judge me or have this misconception about me or stigmatize me or see me in a different light. I didn't want anything around my journey to come out. I guess I felt very vulnerable, raw, and I guess embarrassed in that sense to share anything about my journey and what I'm going through. I felt it was that also, I guess, for the Asian community, there's that big shame as well when I do say something, or if anybody says something about their struggles and then what they're going through, they're going to be definitely seen and treated differently. I felt that that was my mentality back then. It's not me going through this journey and what I'm going through. It's not just me, it's my parents, it's my family, it's my brother, my grandma. Everyone's going through this problem with me, and I felt as if to protect them I need to not speak about my mental health or even dare to utter the word that I have got problem or problems around mental health, which is what I know now that it is. So no, to answer your question, I didn't dare to tell anybody.
So, what was the root cause of this, though? Because you started experiencing this in 2012. So,
Mm.
assuming, and correct me if I've got this wrong, before 2012, maybe you weren't doing what you were doing in 2012. So, what was the trigger point? What happened in your life where you started doing these things?
I guess I've always been into the way I look, the body image, the weight. Weight has been the biggest issue for me since I was a child, since I was born, essentially. I think it really played on me that bit more in my teen years, being a teenager, going through puberty, going through school. and the educational system thereafter, I really do think it has stemmed, looking back on it with the help of therapists and counselors, it really stemmed, yeah, from my childhood. And it was a lot around the way I look and the weight. I think the weight was by far the biggest one. And I always felt that I was the chubbiest one, fat, overweight. And that has always, I guess, been there since I can remember, to be honest. And I've always
Mm.
been that type to always look into losing weight, exercising, but never, I guess, in a healthy way. And I've always been like that since, yeah, since I can imagine. So I really do think childhood for me, um, looking back on it, and I guess also relatives and family members um, saying things. I mean, looking back on it, they didn't mean to say it in the way they said it, but saying things like "tu moti hogi," um, "tu ki khan diya, bahut khan diya." So there's lots of um, relatives saying that when I was young, and I took it seriously. I absorbed all this information, and I kept on absorbing all this information, and I began to think it's true. I started to believe it more and more. I internalized a lot of that. And this internalization, I guess I didn't really find a way to expel that ever. And I guess it built up from my childhood, people saying what they have said. And I guess I didn't have that time to, or that energy, or took notice to expel this, to work on it. I just absorbed it and internalized it. And that's when it became a problem. If you think of it as an elastic band, to be honest, Ravi,
Mm.
over the
Mm.
years, it kept on winding and winding up. And in July 2012, it snapped. So,
Mm.
so it's been with me since childhood. Yeah, it just manifested each year.
And I know from the documentary that you did called The Angel and the Devil. And in that documentary, you describe in detail about some of the experiences you had with your mental health problems. Now, you went to the GP back in March 2014. And in that
Mm.
year, in 2014, you hit, unfortunately, a low point. Um, and I believe that was in August, that low point that you had in August 2014. So
Yeah.
I know it's difficult to speak about, but if you're comfortable speaking about it, what happened at that time in August 2014, which was sadly the low point with your mental health problems?
So, in the midst of um, going on the CBT sessions and so forth, I did start 40 sessions with the NHS secondary psychological care. Was on the waiting
Mm.
list, and in on Friday the 29th of August 2014 is a day I will never forget. I remember waking up on that Friday morning just so sad and depressed. I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to see anyone. I didn't want to even talk. I couldn't muster the energy to find words. I just wanted to stay in my bed, and I didn't want to talk to anybody. And I remember my mum was eager for me to come. It was basically a day before my brother's birthday, and all the family were heading to the Gurdwara. And my mum said, try if you can. She was knocking on the door and just asking me if you want to come along. It would be great if you can. And I thought long and hard about this. I really did. And I was in my mind, I was going back and forth. I was thinking, shall I go? What's the point of me going? But Then I came around to, and I thought, I've got to, do it for my brother at least, just be there and do it for him. So if you notice, there's a pattern. Whilst I'm talking to you, I'm doing it for others. Whilst I'm speaking to you, I come to that realization. But yeah, so I thought, I'm going to do it for my brother. And I got ready and headed to the Gurdwara with my family. And I remember sitting in the Langar hall, and everyone started to prepare vegetables, cutting, preparing food for his birthday next day. And I remember just sitting there on the chair, looking around from left all the way to my right. And I just thought, everyone here, every single person here has a purpose. Everyone has a role. Everyone has a responsibility. They're here for a reason. They're doing something worthwhile, you know. And then that manifested in me then thinking wider, above and beyond the Gurdwara, and looking at what is my purpose in this world? Where do I fit? And I kept on going back to my childhood and what I went through for those 2 years in 2012 to 2014. And I thought, I really lost myself. I lost my family. I neglected them. I neglected everyone that just loved me for who I am. And it got to the point where I just didn't know where I belonged. I lost myself. I didn't know what I stood for. And I guess going through what I went through, it broke me. It chipped away at me to the point where I was sitting there contemplating what next, and where do I go from here, you know? And I thought about it, and I kept on thinking about it, and I was angry at myself at the same time. And I just thought, that's it. And as soon as I said that's it, I headed to the toilets, the Gurdwara toilets, ground floor. I remember like it was yesterday. And I went to the third cubicle on the right. And I went in there, and I had the scarf around me, and I stood on top of the toilet seat, and I put the scarf around the light grater just above my head, and I tied it tightly, tied it around my neck, and just tried to take the life out of me. Just didn't want to be here in this world. And at that very moment, there was a lot of noise in my mind. There was a lot of to and fro's, battles in my mind. The angel and the devil. The angel saying, you need to be here. You need to live. You've got so much more to offer. Don't listen to the devil. Your family loves you. Don't neglect them. Be here for them and just be you. And the other side, the devil, was saying, counteracting the argument, you're worthless. You don't need to be here. You neglected your family before. You will do that again. You are a traitor to yourself. You're very selfish. Is all these different thoughts, and you don't deserve to live. And it was a lot of those thoughts back and forth. So I was at this crossroad mentally in my mind. What do I do? At the same time, whilst I was thinking that, I was in tears streaming down my face and just tightening that scarf more and more around my neck. The anger, the pain, the anguish, everything all came together. Everything. I felt what I went through previously in my life since I was born all came at that moment. They say life flashes before your eyes. My God, in those few moments, I just, I don't even know how to describe it to this day. And I just, yeah, it was just a lot to go through, you know. But um,
It, it's okay, Sandeep. You don't have to discuss any further if you don't want to. I know it's very difficult to speak about, and from what you've described, is very brave and courageous of you. And I'm sure the viewers have grasped by now uh, the sadness in one trying to unfortunately try to take their life. Um, but it's great to know that you fought against any negative forces and any negative voices in your head. So it's all credit to you. It's all credit to you, and I know from your documentary when that happened. Fortunately, your mother was looking for you in the toilets, and your mother found you, and it was your mother's voice was the voice of the angel, and the internal voices you had, the voice of the devil. But you pulled through it. So this is all credit. So this is fantastic, and it's very heroic of you, as well as your dear mother, to confront that stage in your life where it could have been life or death. And life is a beautiful gift from such a Petavai and it does bring you lots of challenges, and it's unexpected. And I'm sure from that moment you can look back at it as a triumph. You're still here. You've done great. You've always done great. So I think it's sad listening to it. It's sad seeing that, but at the same time, we should look at the triumph that you came back from that. You came back from that, and your mom, God bless her, was there to help you pull through it. So what I will say on behalf of the viewers is it's been very brave of you to share this with us and to open up and discuss this. And I know it's very painful to hear you speak about it, and equally it's sad listening to it. But unfortunately, this is reality. What we have seen is suicide rates across both men and women have been going up. And that does include men. I mean, in the month of November, it's Movember, so it's that month where men try to be more open about any health problems or conditions they have, whether it's prostrate problems or whether it's suicidal thoughts or whether it's anything else. So it's look at it as triumph, right? You came through that, and so since that point, since that 29th of August 2014, your life has taken a turn for the better. So tell us what you've been doing since then, please.
First of all, sorry about that. It's
It's okay.
it just always it just takes me back, and every time I share it, it gets honestly it gets harder and harder the more I share it. I guess, um, but I'm just hoping, like you said, it's needed. You know, stories, I'm not the only one, and stories need to be shared. Anyone that's going through it. If we don't, we're not making progress. And in terms of progress, I think definitely better, and in a definitely better place. Um, as soon as that incident happened in the Gurdwara, I started with the help of my family and my parents and everyone, private therapy, and also the 40 sessions. I got the call back, um, which I thank God um, to get that call to start that, um, and then whilst doing therapy, I had to. Um, I was with two therapists, so I had to make that decision to go with one. And with counselling and therapy, that has helped. That helped me a lot. It's given me the tools and techniques to definitely better myself, think and challenge the thoughts that I'm going through. And the goal I had, actually the core belief I had, was abnormality. And together, myself and therapist went through all the issues that I went through as a child, you know, and my goals, which was to love myself more, communicate to loved ones more, and just be in the now, and just be who you are. And within the 3-4 weeks, I stopped exercising. I was still on antidepressants. I stopped weighing myself every day. I slowly started to stop the controlled thoughts and behaviors around the food diary. And I only took stock of the progress made when my therapist noticed. He mentioned it. He said, obviously, you do know you've made progress, you've done all this. But I'm the type that I don't really take take to compliments or take good things on board. It's always negative things. And that's another thing that we looked at a lot more in therapy. Challenging those negative thoughts, turning them into positive thoughts, rating each statement that I say to myself, every negative statement that I've ever said to myself, taking each one and unpicking it and giving it a percentage out of 100 of how strongly I felt that about myself, and trying to reword that into a positive statement. So if you think of it as a, as a way of the new me trying to come out, I guess. So there was a lot of work around that, and the tools and techniques were great. And I realized that I have safety behaviors around my eating. I have safety behaviors and coping mechanisms around my weight and the way I look. I guess every time I went to that therapy session, I was, I guess, more and more determined each time I went to change myself. And post February, March 2016, my mum came across an event, mental health event, and she asked me to come along. South Bank, London, I remember. And it was a room full of various mental health charities and organisations there, from Mind, Rethink, so many others. And I was still numb and raw at that stage. I didn't share my story with anyone except the doctor and the therapist and my parents. They only know. Um, and then I came to that realization of, you know what, I'm not alone. That's when I noticed, and I came to that point where there are other people going through mental health problems. as well. They might be having the same diagnosis, or they might have the same issues, but they go on different journeys. And that's the beauty of just being a human and living, and how we're all different. And that's when I came to that point that mental health affects everybody. It doesn't discriminate. I began to start to pick up leaflets and brochures from these exhibition stands. My mum did the most of the talking, and I didn't talk or utter a word. Went home, started to research, and I came across Time to Change, and I registered as a London Time to Change champion. Been a champion since 2014. Got involved with their event. Didn't want to speak at that event, so I started to just be the photographer for that event. Listen more and more to the other people sharing their stories at that event, and I thought at that moment, this is something I can see myself doing. This is something where I feel when I'm ready, I could share my story with other people and help them and empower them and make them feel like they're not alone, that they're not suffering in silence, that there are other people there. And I'm blessed to have a multifaceted identity. I'm a woman, I'm British, I'm Asian, I'm Sikh, I'm all these different identities into one. And I felt like I wanted to advocate this more, mental health. And that then led me to rethink mental health charity. And I signed up to become a committee member. Been a committee member since 2014 now. And it was really a chance for me to really improve the inner workings of mental health charities internally, from governance to fundraising to campaigning, and really make incremental changes inside the charity and learn more and more about mental health and just network with people. So the networking started. I started to slowly open up. I um, I came across further Time to Change champions. We put our heads together and got discussing, talked about our experiences in counselling and therapy sessions, and we thought what was missing in our one-to-ones with counsellors is a visual recovery tool where one can really feel self-empowered with their mental health. Looking back on it, I felt it was a one-size-all-fits approach with counsellors and therapists. It was standardized worksheets, standardized booklets, and guides out there. There was nothing that really felt like you were taking control of your own mental health. You know yourself more than anybody else. And we wanted to create a tool, and we created Balance Ball. And we started talking. We thought it would be great to start an initiative. We then, in 2017, started up Happy Heads, which is a non-profit mental health organisation, self-funded, and reliant on the goodwill of donations and volunteers. And now we're a team of 8, 3 co-directors, including myself, Ruth, and Felicia. And the main core of Happy Heads is celebrating gifts and not labels. And the balance ball. That's the heart of Happy Heads. For people to really feel like they can be themselves again. When you're going through mental health, like I went through, you lose yourself. It's about finding yourself. This recovery tool is all about that, being you again and evaluating yourself, not comparing yourself in any way or judging yourself against others, but comparing yourself and finding balance in 7 different areas, from art, creativity, hobbies, purpose, dreams, and goals, and more. It's a way for them to, if you see it as a pie chart, it's a way for them to find balance in those 7 areas, colouring it, using pencil to paper or using PowerPoint, any way where they can create their personalised balance ball. So we go around championing that. Mental health in the local community, in my own Asian community as well, and doing more every year, hosting events, during this pandemic, hosting back-to-back webinars, unpicking each balance ball, that then led me to do more speaking opportunities, public speaking, and getting more involved in mental health charities, finding out more, networking. So just building this own mental health network, really, it just grew. And it grew, I guess, the more confident I became in sharing my story and putting myself out there, being vulnerable. And gosh, it really resonated with people, a lot of people. And it became my form of therapy, charity work. And it was my calling, looking back on what I went through. And I'm a firm believer that things happen for a reason. And what I went through on 29th of August 2014 in the Gurdwara, I believe God saved me. God was a reason. And God provided the guidance to my mum to come. So my faith is ever stronger. And my passion and enthusiasm to help my own Asian community more, it's second to none. It's something that I really want to strive changing. And during this lockdown, like you mentioned, the film, we recorded and filmed that last year in 2019. It launched this side of the year in July. Absolutely amazing feedback, and I'm so honored and so privileged that it connected with people, and it came at the, I guess, the right time during this pandemic where mental health is on a stark high. And it's been truly an honor to have the film out about not only my journey, my family's journey with me. They've been on that journey with me day one, collective effort. And it was so great that it resonated with people. It got to the people that were suffering and it helped them. It really did. And Ravi, I can't tell you in terms of I can't tell you more in terms of how rewarding that is, and I can't put it into words how it has changed people's lives for the better, I hope. And that's my goal. And on the back of that film, numerous opportunities, international opportunities. The film was showcased as part of the Canadian Film Festival, Australian Mental Health Film Festival, podcasts, speaking and sharing my experience on BBC Asia Network, and so forth and so forth. And it has really helped me grow in confidence. People that are suffering in silence, when they share that with you, only then you know, um, and only then it gives you that bit more determination to keep on going. It's that energy. They are my catalyst. The people that do share. So no, I'm gonna keep on going.
No, that's great to hear, and we would love to keep going in this conversation. And I know you have a very busy schedule, and we would love to have you back. And there's some really interesting things that you're doing right now with organizations, with people of all backgrounds and ethnicities, and we want to know more about that. And it's fantastic that although you've had these life-threatening conditions, you've had the energy and the strength and the will to still do voluntary work as a committee member and to create things. So that's all a credit to you and your strength and to the love and support from your family. Um, but we have to just conclude for now. But I'm sure you'll be back again with us, and we can discuss more about the initiatives that you have. I know you're doing some great work, and you've just given us a flavor of some of the things that you're involved with. So, to the viewers, the voluntary organization that Sandeep is co-director is Happy Heads. So it helps people with mental health problems, mental health challenges. If anyone wants to contact the channel and just give the feedback and just ask anything about the work that Sandeep's doing or about mental health, you are welcome to email us. It's info@sikhchannel.tv. That's info@sikhchannel.tv. Until then, thank you, everyone, and we will meet again. And wishing you all a lovely day. And Sandeep, thank you very much. Vaheguru Ji ka Khalsa, Sri Vaheguru Ji ki Fateh.